Welcome back, everybody. My name is Nick. This is Swiftful Thinking, and I'm so excited to share this new course with you guys. In the last video, I did a quick introduction about what this course is, the SwiftUI Advanced Architecture course. And in this video, I'm going to go a little bit more into detail about exactly what it is we're going to build. Now, this course has over 150 lessons, all to build one app. But the 150 is broken into three big parts, each which have a bunch of modules and submodules. So I promise you guys there's been a lot of planning and structure to this course. The first part of the course is the AI chat app. We're going to build an app in vanilla SwiftUI, just plain SwiftUI, no fancy architecture, and we're going to build an AI chat app. And we're going to prove that we can build a great code base, a testable and mockable code base, even without MVVM and other architectures. I've purposely designed this course to try to mimic real-world applications as much as possible. So we're going to do things like an onboarding flow, we're going to have a tab bar, we're going to switch between onboarding, signing in, and signing out. We're going to have authentication, anonymous accounts, and sign in with Apple. We're going to build a real-time chat application. So messages coming in, we're going to build an entire chat UI, and we're going to connect to AI. The main features of this application are users are going to create avatars using AI, and then they're going to chat with those avatars using AI. So we'll create an avatar like an alien or a dog or a human, and then we're going to chat with the alien. And the alien will have a personality and an AI-generated profile image and all that fun stuff. Now, it's going to be fun to connect to AI and build an AI chat app. But the purpose of this course is much bigger than just building an AI app. The purpose really here is really figuring out how to build a stable, reusable, scalable code base in SwiftUI. So how do we handle all of our dependencies? How do we handle signing in and signing out? Where should I store my data? We're going to store data in user defaults, in Swift data, in the file manager, and in Firebase. So we're going to really cover a lot of ground in this course. But as I said, this first section is going to be without any fancy architecture. I want to prove that we can build the same app with and without architecture. And we're going to find by the end of the course that the architecture is going to add lots of benefits to our code base. So we're going to realize why we probably are going to want to opt for the architecture most of the time. But one thing I'll talk about in the course is that just because we know how to build the architecture doesn't mean that we need to always do that. Sometimes we want to just get something working and get something out. And so we're going to start with just vanilla SwiftUI, a very, very SwiftUI-esque app. We're going to make use of the environment and observable and all those fun APIs. The section of the course is called MVP Essentials. So we're going to take our code base that we now have, and we're going to prepare it actually for release in an app store as if we were working for a company. Not just you building some app and putting it into the app store, but actually what would be expected of the code base in a professional setting. What would a startup really want and need in that MVP, in that V1? That's going to look a lot like adding analytics and Crashlytics. We're going to build an entire logging package, a reusable Swift package for logging and analytics. We're going to talk a little bit about safety. So we're going to have API keys because we're using this OpenAI. So we're going to actually migrate a bunch of our functions onto the server so that our API keys are never on the device. We're going to dive into the wild world of A/B tests. We're going to write a ton of different A/B tests, look at how we can actually set them up in our code base, also how we can monitor them on our analytics platforms. We're also going to build out an entire framework around in-app purchasing. A framework that is 100% reusable that you can go and reuse in your own apps. We're going to connect to StoreKit and RevenueCat. We're going to do it twice. And then we're going to build a bunch of different paywalls for this course. We're going to build our own custom paywalls. We're going to use StoreKit paywalls. We'll use RevenueCat paywalls. And then we're going to even A/B test all of our different paywalls. So we're really going to dive into a lot of the specifics of how do I actually not just launch my app, but make sure that it's ready to be successful from day one. This section also includes a ton of videos about really preparing our app for a stable release. So we're going to write UI tests and unit tests for our code base. We're also going to just throw in a bunch of really important launch features like adding in-app ratings, adding push notifications. We'll build some custom modals. We're going to add a bunch of build configurations. So how do I set up my Xcode project for a development environment, a production environment, maybe even a mock environment? And we'll connect all of this to Xcode Cloud. So how can I write tests and then automate them? By the end of part 2, we are still technically in a vanilla SwiftUI codebase. There is no special architecture. I've done this on purpose because I think when we get into the architecture section, it's going to get a little bit opinionated. And some people are not going to want to do that. And so we've built our whole app without the fancy architecture. But now in part 3, we're going to switch and go full throttle on adding the best architecture possible. And I think by the end of the course, you will also come to the conclusion that most of the time adding the architecture is a massive upgrade to our code base. The biggest reason being testability, because once we add that, our code base is going to be 100% testable. But also, it's going to help us code faster. Because once we have all of these files, all these separations of concerns, we then will know exactly where to put code, exactly how to structure our code base. And when we work on larger teams, it'll be much easier to share components, to share code, and to not have merge conflicts all the time. So as we enter the third section, we're going to take our vanilla SwiftUI app and we're going to just start architecting. We're not just going to take an acronym and say, like, this is how we apply it. We're just going to start building a little bit, a little bit. How do I improve the code base a little bit? How about a little bit more? Does this need to be decoupled? Does this need to be abstracted? How do we go about this? And along that journey, we might just happen to come across some really popular architectures. So the first architecture we'll morph into is going to be MVVM. Everybody's favorite MVVM. We're going to spend a lot of time talking about different ways we can implement MVVM, how we can use our dependencies. We're going to manually dependency inject. We're going to write a dependency injection container. We're going to also talk about how we can abstract the injection to protocols to make our code base just that much better. After we get through the MVVM section, we'll also write a bunch more unit tests. We'll prove in this refactor that because we built on MVVM, we then added a lot more test coverage to our code base. Because now, once we go to MVVM, all of our business logic that was originally in the view is now going to be in the view model. And then everything in the view model is now testable. However, we are not done yet. We're going to then take our MVVM, we're going to continue to architect. After that, we're going to talk a lot about routing. How do we decouple routing from the view in SwiftUI? We're going to actually build an entire routing framework together, a reusable package that you guys can use in your own apps. We're going to continue to build out this routing package, then we're going to implement it. And we're going to abstract the routing from our SwiftUI views as well. After we build that and then implement it in our code base, we're going to jump into the deep end. We're going to jump into Viper. Part of what this course is building up together. So we're going to understand why we got to this architecture anyway. And as if that wasn't enough, we're going to end the course by actually modulating the code base. How do we now break up our big app into a bunch of different modules? So we're going to end up creating 4 or 5 different Swift packages. Actually, you'll be able to create more, but we're only going to create 4 or 5. But we'll also modulate the code base within our app. So maybe not abstracting to a Swift package, but having pieces of our code in totally different sections. So maybe we work at a really big company where the onboarding team wants to be siloed into their section, and maybe the tab bar team is working completely separate in the same code base, but totally separate files. So we'll talk a lot about how we can make the code base a little bit more modular. It goes without saying that as we build more and more advanced architecture, it is going to be more and more opinionated. And so that's part of the reason why I wanted to structure this course of building vanilla SwiftUI and then working our way up together. Because at any point in this process, you can decide this is enough architecture for me. I don't like this. This is too difficult. Let's just keep it simple. And I'm not going to fault you for that. I'll talk a lot about this in the course. There's definitely a case for keeping it simple, but there also is a case for making it more complex. I think the architecture that we're going to end with at the very end of the course is the architecture that I would use in production today, and it helps me move 10x faster. And I think it's going to help you as well. And in the next video, I will show you guys exactly what app we're going to build. Thank you guys for watching. As always, my name is Nick. This is Swiftful Thinking, and I'll see you in the next video.